Hello, guys. Welcome to the sixth or the seventh part of our Python series. Tomione here from Coding for Youth. And of course, like we always say, this channel is actually made to encourage you to code. There are a lot of useful resources out there that you can, harness and learn and get acquire knowledge. Make sure you do a little bit of code every day. So we have been learning, we have been, looking at Python, starting from the very basic, the Scratch, um, and then we have talked a lot, and this is lesson number 7. In the previous lesson, we talked about data types and Python values and stuff like that. So we have already discussed we have already discussed um, data types in the previous lesson. So in this lesson, I just want to briefly talk about data, type conversion, how you can convert from one data type to another, and then we'll talk a little bit about random numbers and maybe look at casting in Python. So how you can actually convert, like I said, from one data type to another. But before we begin, I would like you to encourage you to subscribe to this channel and leave your comment in the comment section. So let's say we have a few data types. I'm going to clear this screen right now, and let's say let's assign some values to a variable, so to some variables. Let's say we assign 1 to x. Okay, this is, don't forget, this is int, right? Let's say we say y is equal to 2.5. This is type. Don't forget, this is floats, right? Let me just do it like this. See the way I'm using comments on the same line, and the comments will not be executed. Okay, when it gets to the hash, when the interpreter gets to the hash, it will see it as a comment, and then it will skip and go to the next line. So let's say we say z is equal to 1j. This is a complex number, right? Okay, it's complex. So how do we convert from one type to the other? Let's start with, let's say we want to convert x, right, from int to float. Let's say we want to convert from int to float. How do we do that? So simply we're going to assign the new value, to another a variable. Let's say we say a is equal to convert. All you need to do is just to type the type you're converting to, and then you put the old value, okay, the old type in parentheses, more like a function, right? So invariably now we are converting s from int to float. So the type for the value that will be assigned to a is going to be float, not int anymore, right? But the value of x still remains int. So let's print this out to see what we're talking about. I'm going to put the type in it so I'll know the type that we get. I'm going to put a here, right? Let's also check the type for x, right? Okay, so if you run this, you see that our a is a float, while the x is an int, right? We're going to do, let's try to convert from float to int by using the other value. So let's assign b to, remember that y is a float. We're going to check the type as well. Now, but we want to convert the float to integer, right? So we're going to say int, and then we put y like that. And if we print this, let's check the type for our y, okay, and then also check the type for B, the new value. Okay, so if you run this, you see that though we have floats, that's the value of Y, and then ints are the value of B, because when you convert, when you put you use what we did here is to convert from float to int, right, by using the int like this and putting the float in the bracket. Okay, more like a function. So what about converting from int to complex? Is the same thing. So to convert from one type to another, all you need to do is to implicitly declare this to be the type you're trying to convert to. Let's say we want to convert the complex. Remember we have int x to be int, right? So let's say we want to convert x to complex. So we say complex like this, and then we'll put our x in brackets. Invariably, this we actually convert to um, to complex. So if you print this, we say type x was int, and type the new value now c is going to be complex. So let's save this and run. You see, we now have int and being converted to complex. That's what we have here. Now, briefly, let's talk about, so this is how you convert from one type to another. You convert, so I will just indicate here, converts from, you are converting from floats to ints. And then in this other example, we're converting from int to complex, right? So that's what we have here. Okay, so see the results. Now let's talk about random numbers. In Python, in most programming languages, you can generate random numbers. And in Python does not have a random, like say random, and then you a random function to make a random number. But Python has a built-in module called random that can be used to make random numbers. Okay, now what we need to do is to import. We do a lot of import to use a module in Python. You import the module. These are built-in module, so you import it, and then you can now use. No, remember that modules are more like objects, so you can use a method in the module to to get what you want. So import the module and display a random number between let's do that. So we're talking about random numbers now, how to generate random numbers. So what we'll do is say imports like this. We want to import the module random. Okay, we can now use, let's print this. Okay, we have an error there. Type error. Okay, so when you print the random, the module we imported, you can see that this is a module random, and it's being imported from the random.pyc. Okay, is a built-in module, so we can actually print. We can actually create a random number between a particular range to a particular range. So let's try and print a random number between the range. So use the module and then get the method the object model, and then get the method random rand range, and we want to get between 1 and 20. Okay, so if you run this, you see anytime you run again, you have different values. Okay, you run again, you have different values. This 19. If you stop and run again, you have 8. You run again, you have 9. That's how you generate random number. Okay, so we'll talk more about this in the future classes. But let's talk about a very important concept called casting in Python. Now, there may be times when you want to specify a type, onto a variable, and this can be done with casting. Okay, so Python is an object-oriented language, don't forget, and as such, it uses classes to define data types, including its primitive types. So casting in Python is therefore done using constructor functions. Okay, so what we did in the previous lesson is called casting. So you implicitly declare that, okay, you want this type to be a type int, or you want it to be type float, using the constructor. Okay, so to construct an integer number from an integer literal, a float literal by removing all decimals, or a string literal providing a string represents a whole number. What that simply means is that, let's say you have x, you have declared x to be a string, but this string is a whole number, let's say 23, right? If we print x, this will give us a string, right? It will give us a string. Let's check the type by using casting. Okay, so if we save, you see this is string. Now, by casting, we could say print int x. Okay, automatically, since this is a number, this second line will be int. That's casting. Now we're converting from string to int. So if you save this, if you run, you see, let's print the type. Let's put the type. Okay, run, you see that this is int. So that's what we did in the previous class. Okay, so that's what casting is all about. Casting means converting from one data type to another, especially when your conversion, you use a construct function. You're actually converting from a string literal, providing that the string is a whole number. You can actually convert to either an integer, a floating point number. Okay, so that is what casting is all about. I just want to end this class here, and we'll see you guys in the next lesson. So I want to encourage you to learn new things every day. Search online, there are a lot of resources out there you can use, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next class.